The princess thought he was just an apprentice until apex predators stepped back. The sun hung low over the academy planet, casting soft orange light across the polished metal walls of the starship training grounds. Princess Lily walked along the observation balcony, her eyes scanning the open hangar below. Rows of starships gleamed under the lights, each one meticulously maintained, each one waiting for its crew. The hum of machinery and the faint chatter of cadets filled the air. She had grown up in this environment, knowing every corner of the academy, yet she still felt a thrill whenever a new batch of apprentices arrived. Today, a new group had just landed, and among them was someone who did not seem remarkable at first glance. He was a young man with dark hair and steady brown eyes, carrying a standard apprentice's pack over his shoulder. His uniform was slightly loose, and his boots had a few scuffs. His posture was straight, but not in the rigid way that training demanded. To most, he looked like any ordinary student, nervous and unsure. Lily's assistant, a sharp-eyed woman named Karen, nudged her gently. "There he is, princess," she said. "The new apprentice you requested to observe today." Lily nodded and leaned on the railing, her eyes tracking the young man as he stepped off the transport shuttle. He paused for a moment, taking in the scene, then walked forward with quiet confidence. His name was Ethan Clark, and to Lily, he seemed like any other recruit, yet something about him made her pause. Perhaps it was the way he carried himself, or the way he observed everything without drawing attention. The instructors were already calling the apprentices forward. "Line up," barked Commander Halston, his voice firm and commanding. The apprentices moved into formation quickly, their faces a mixture of nervousness and excitement. Ethan slid into line without hesitation, his hands relaxed at his sides. He did not fidget or look around, even as the more nervous cadets shuffled uneasily. Princess Lily studied him carefully. She had seen many students enter the academy, and she thought she could read them in an instant. Ethan, she decided, was simple to overlook. There was nothing flashy about him, nothing to suggest he could stand out in a group of hundreds. She almost smiled at the thought. Commander Halston began the opening drills. The apprentices were tested on basic starship controls, navigation, and hand-eye coordination. They were asked to pilot small simulators through obstacle courses, performing simple maneuvers under strict time limits. Most cadets struggled, crashing into walls or overcorrecting their movements. Ethan, however, moved smoothly through the controls. His reactions were fast but not rushed, and he seemed to anticipate the movements of the simulation before they happened. Lily frowned slightly. "Interesting," she murmured to herself. She had seen many talented students over the years, but there was something different about Ethan. Not raw skill, no, many apprentices had raw skill, but a calmness, a focus, a way of thinking that went beyond what was taught in the academy. The drills ended, and the apprentices were called to the next exercise, combat simulations. Laser pistols, force fields, and holographic opponents were set up in the training arena. Cadets were expected to defend themselves against increasingly difficult scenarios. The holograms moved unpredictably, changing size and speed, testing both strategy and reflexes. Ethan's turn came. He stepped into the arena, his movements unhurried. The first hologram appeared, a 6-foot-tall creature with red eyes and claws that shimmered with energy. Most apprentices jumped back or hesitated, unsure how to react. Ethan, however, simply adjusted his stance and aimed carefully. The shots he fired were precise, taking down the hologram in a few seconds. The instructors murmured among themselves. "He's fast, yes, but that calmness," one said. "It's unusual for an apprentice this new." Lily watched closely. Ethan's next few targets appeared faster and more complex, moving unpredictably and even splitting into multiple holograms at once. Yet with every challenge he adapted instantly, analyzing and adjusting without panic. He didn't rush or overthink. He simply acted, and it was effective. By the end of the exercise, Ethan stood in the arena, breathing evenly, unbroken, his uniform still neat. Some of the instructors exchanged surprised looks. Commander Halston cleared his throat. "Not bad for a new recruit," he said, though his voice betrayed a mixture of curiosity and caution. "We will be keeping a close eye on you, Clark." Ethan nodded politely but did not speak beyond a simple, "Yes, sir." His demeanor remained quiet and respectful. He did not seek attention or praise, which only made him more difficult for others to read. Princess Lily felt a strange mixture of frustration and intrigue. She had assumed he would be just another apprentice, another inexperienced student she could watch and mentor. Yet she could not shake the feeling that there was something more, something hidden beneath the surface. As the day continued, the Academy received unexpected news. A warning alert flashed across the central display. Multiple unknown ships had been detected near human colonies on the frontier planets. They were identified as apex predator vessels, notorious across the galaxy for their speed, strength, and ruthless tactics. No species had ever claimed to defeat them in direct combat. The alert caused a stir among the instructors and cadets. Commander Halston turned to the apprentices. "We have a potential threat," he said. "This is a simulation of real conditions. Observe closely. Some of you may be called upon for special duties." He glanced at Ethan, his gaze sharp. "Clark, I expect you to pay attention. You may be more useful than most think." Ethan simply nodded. He did not react with fear or excitement. He did not try to impress anyone. He only watched, his mind absorbing every detail of the alert and the response plan. Princess Lily noticed how calmly he handled the situation. Where other apprentices whispered anxiously or fidgeted, Ethan remained steady. She frowned slightly. Could this young man, who seemed so ordinary, really be prepared for something as dangerous as apex predators? Later, Lily had a chance to observe him more closely during lunch. The cadets gathered in the mess hall, chatting and eating quickly. Ethan sat quietly at a corner table, unpacking his small meal. He ate slowly, deliberately, as if each movement was part of a plan. A few other apprentices approached him, curious. "Hey, Clark," one said, "that was wow in the arena. How did you do that?" Ethan looked up, his expression calm. "I just practiced a lot," he said simply, "and I try to think ahead." The cadets exchanged glances. Some nodded, impressed. Others shrugged. It was a simple answer, but it did not reveal the quiet intensity behind his skill. Lily watched from across the room, a faint smile on her face. She was starting to see why the instructors had kept a closer eye on him. There was a balance in him, skill and humility, focus and restraint. She wondered if she had underestimated him from the start. After lunch, the cadets were called back for a debriefing. The alert about the apex predators was still active. Commander Halston gathered the instructors to discuss the strategy for human colonies. He spoke of the danger these ships posed, of their ability to destroy entire fleets in minutes, and of the need for careful planning and strong leadership. Lily listened, but her thoughts kept drifting to Ethan. She had seen students with talent before, but never someone who combined skill with quiet insight. She decided she would keep a closer watch on him during the upcoming exercises. As the day ended, Ethan returned to his quarters. He unpacked his belongings with care, arranging them neatly on a small shelf. He glanced at a small holographic display on his wall, reviewing schematics of starships and tactical exercises. Even in private, he studied, prepared, and thought ahead. There was no arrogance, no boastfulness, only quiet determination. Princess Lily walked along the balcony one last time before the sun disappeared entirely. The hangar lights glowed softly below, and the hum of machinery filled the night air. She had watched many students come and go, but she had learned to trust her instincts. There was something about Ethan Clark that could not be ignored. Somewhere on the frontier planets, the apex predator ships continued their approach, unaware of the human apprentice who might one day change everything. Lily did not yet understand him fully, but she knew one thing. Underestimating him could be a mistake she would never forgive herself for. And so, as the first stars appeared in the evening sky, Princess Lily watched the quiet young man preparing himself, unaware that the galaxy was about to witness something it had never seen before. The next morning, the academy was alive with energy. Alarms had not sounded during the night, but the news of the apex predator ships had spread. Cadets whispered in hallways, their eyes wide with a mix of fear and excitement. The instructors moved with purpose, organizing drills and briefings, but there was an underlying tension. Everyone knew these were not ordinary drills. The predators were real, and they were heading toward human colonies faster than anyone had expected. Princess Lily arrived at the Central Command Center just as the apprentices were gathering for a strategy session. She walked past the rows of consoles and holographic displays, her eyes scanning the faces of cadets. Some were nervous, some were excited. Ethan Clark stood near the back, quietly observing the scene. He did not speak, did not fidget. He only watched, calm and steady, his brown eyes following the movements of the instructors and the data flowing across the displays. Commander Halston cleared his throat. "We have limited time," he said. "The apex predator ships are approaching at high speed. We do not know their full strength or their tactics. Our task is to protect the colonies, gather intelligence, and, if possible, slow their advance. This is not a simulation. This is real." The apprentices shifted in their seats, some gripping their armrests nervously. Lily's gaze fell on Ethan. She noticed that he leaned forward slightly, not in fear but in focus, as if he were already calculating the moves he might make in the coming battle. "We will divide into teams," Halston continued. "Each team will take a different sector to monitor the predators. Observation, tactics, and rapid response are your priorities. Any mistake could cost lives. Clark, you are assigned to the main tactical unit." Ethan nodded without a word. He moved with calm precision to the assigned station, joining a group of experienced cadets. His presence was quiet, almost unnoticed, but the senior officers quickly recognized the subtle confidence he carried. The tactical room was filled with holographic projections of the incoming ships. The predators moved in patterns that seemed chaotic at first, but the experienced officers quickly pointed out repeating behaviors. Their ships were designed for speed and strength. They did not follow conventional human strategies, making them dangerous to predict. Ethan studied the holograms, his mind working silently. He tapped a few commands into the console and shifted the projections. "If they continue this approach, they will encounter a weak point in their formation near Sector 9, he said softly. The room fell silent. One of the senior instructors, Lieutenant Harris, looked at him sharply. "How do you know that?" Ethan shrugged. "It's a pattern," he said. "They adjust their ships to attack the largest targets first. The smaller gaps are ignored. I think we can use that." Halston leaned over, examining the holograms. Slowly, he nodded. "Interesting," he said. "Prepare a countermeasure. The rest of you follow Clark's plan." Princess Lily watched silently from the side, her brow furrowed. She had thought he was just an apprentice, but now, watching him direct strategy with calm authority, she realized he was something else entirely. The hours passed quickly. The academy became a hive of activity as cadets and instructors prepared defensive ships for deployment. Ethan moved through the tactical planning as if he had been doing it all his life. He did not boast. He did not argue. He simply presented his ideas and adjusted them when necessary, always thinking one step ahead. Finally, the alert came. The apex predator ships were within sensor range of the frontier colonies. The cadets were allowed a brief moment to ready themselves before deployment. Ethan walked to the hangar where the small fleet of human ships waited. He climbed into a defensive starfighter, checking controls and weapons systems with calm efficiency. Princess Lily followed, observing him closely. "Do you know what you're doing?" she asked quietly. Ethan glanced at her. "I think so," he said simply. "We need to slow them down and gather information. We don't attack unless we must." She nodded, though she felt a mixture of concern and admiration. There was something about his quiet confidence that made her uneasy. She had seen talented cadets before, but none like him. The human fleet launched, moving toward the frontier planets with careful precision. The stars streaked past as the ships accelerated to high speeds. Ethan's ship slid smoothly through the formation, scanning the area for predator movement. Suddenly, the first predator ship appeared on the sensors. It was massive, its hull sleek and black, reflecting starlight like liquid metal. Its engines pulsed with energy, faster than any human ship could match. The predators did not slow down. They moved with lethal purpose, aiming straight for the colonies. Ethan studied the display. "They are faster than expected," he said, "but their path is predictable. They are prioritizing larger targets," Lieutenant Harris shouted from the rear console. "They're firing, shields up." Energy blasts streaked across space, striking several human ships. Warning alarms blared and some cadets panicked, but Ethan remained calm. He guided his starfighter around the blasts, using the enemy's speed against them. He positioned himself near the weak point he had identified and signaled other ships to follow. The Predator ships reacted aggressively, attempting to close the gap. But Ethan's strategy worked. By forcing them to chase smaller ships while avoiding obstacles, he slowed their advance. The human fleet could now observe their patterns and weaknesses without being destroyed. Princess Lily watched in awe. The predators, creatures the galaxy feared, were hesitant now. They began adjusting their maneuvers, clearly unnerved by the human tactics. It was not the firepower alone that held them back, but the careful planning, the anticipation, the intelligence behind the movements. One predator ship broke formation and headed directly for Ethan. It moved faster than any human ship, aiming to destroy him instantly. Ethan adjusted his course, weaving through the asteroid belt near the edge of the sector. He calculated the ship's speed and trajectory, predicting its attack before it arrived. Then he fired a precise energy pulse, hitting the Predator's engines. The ship faltered, giving the human fleet a brief advantage. Lily's heart pounded in her chest. She had never seen anything like this. The Predators were not just dangerous, they were legendary, unstoppable to most species. Yet here was a human apprentice controlling the battlefield with calm intelligence. The battle continued for hours. Ethan guided his team through ambushes, attacks, and dangerous maneuvers. His instincts were uncanny. He predicted enemy movements, adjusted strategies in real time, and coordinated human ships with precision far beyond his rank. Slowly, the Predator ships began to pull back, confused and cautious. Finally, after a long engagement, the Predators retreated from the sector entirely. The human fleet was battered, but it had survived. The frontier colonies were safe, at least for now. Ethan's ship glided back toward the academy, his face calm but his mind still focused. He had done what many thought impossible. He had held back the apex predators without destroying them outright. His approach was careful, calculated, and humane, an approach that few others would have considered. Princess Lily met him on the landing pad. She began, struggling for words. "You did that all alone?" Ethan shook his head. "Not alone. Everyone followed the plan, I just suggested it." She studied him closely, realizing for the first time how much she had underestimated him. He was not just an apprentice. He was something else entirely. Someone capable of thinking faster, smarter, and more strategically than most of the galaxy's finest officers. Lieutenant Harris approached, shaking his head in disbelief. "Clark, you've done something no one expected." The predators, they hesitated. They actually pulled back. Ethan nodded again, modest as always. "We can't assume they are gone forever," he said. "They'll be back and we need to be ready." Princess Lily finally smiled, a mix of admiration and respect. She realized that the quiet young man she had dismissed as ordinary might one day be the reason humanity survived when no one else could stand against the galaxy's greatest threats. As the sun set over the Academy planet, the fleet returned to base. Ethan stood quietly, reviewing the battle in his mind. Every move, every calculation, every decision was replayed, refined, and learned from. He did not seek praise. He did not seek recognition. He only sought to prepare for the battles that were surely coming. And somewhere, far across the stars, the apex predator ships had retreated, wary now of a species they had once dismissed. Unseen by them, a single human apprentice had changed the course of the encounter. And for Princess Lily, that quiet, unassuming young man had become someone she could never underestimate again. The galaxy had seen its first glimpse of what humans could do, and it would not be the last. The morning sun rose over the Academy planet, casting soft light across the hangars and training fields. Princess Lily walked along the balcony, her mind restless. She had not slept well. The events of the previous day still played in her head. The battle with the apex predator ships, the calm precision of Ethan Clarke, and the way even the most feared ships in the galaxy had pulled back before a single human. The Academy was quieter than usual. Cadets moved between their assignments with purpose, their faces still reflecting awe and nervousness from the first encounter with the predators. For most, yesterday had been a warning, a reminder that the universe was vast, dangerous, and unpredictable. For Lily, it had been a revelation. Ethan Clarke was no ordinary apprentice, and the thought both intrigued and unsettled her. Ethan was already at the tactical room, reviewing data from the battle. His movements were methodical. He pulled up information on predator ship behavior, energy patterns, and weapon signatures. His fingers flew over the console, tracing trajectories, analyzing weaknesses, and predicting future maneuvers. His calm focus was almost frightening. Lieutenant Harris entered, holding a report. "Clarke," he said, "we've detected new activity near the outer colonies. Smaller predator squads, but they're testing our defenses." Ethan didn't look up. "I expected as much. Their retreat yesterday wasn't permanent." "They will probe for weaknesses first." Harris nodded. "We need to respond. Can your plan handle this?" Ethan paused a moment, then looked up with steady eyes. "Yes, but this time I suggest we force them into a trap instead of just defending." Harris raised an eyebrow. "A trap? Are you suggesting offensive maneuvers against predators this early?" Ethan's gaze didn't waver. "It's defensive. If we control the field, we can protect the colonies and learn their patterns. We don't attack them directly. We make them reveal their strategy." Harris looked at the young apprentice with a mix of caution and disbelief. He had seen humans with skill before, but nothing like this. "All right," he said finally. "You take lead, but I'll be watching." Meanwhile, Princess Lily had gathered with other instructors to discuss the growing threat. She tried to focus on strategy, but her mind kept returning to Ethan. She remembered how he had predicted the predator's movements yesterday, how he had kept his calm when other cadets panicked. She had dismissed him at first, but now she could not. He was extraordinary. The alarm sounded again, signaling new predator activity. This time they were closer to the colonies, and the ships were moving in coordinated squads. Ethan and the tactical team rushed to their stations. He took the central console, his eyes scanning incoming data. "Formations are tighter," he said quietly. "They are testing us. But they are predictable if we watch closely." Princess Lily watched as Ethan directed human ships into positions, guiding small squadrons through complex maneuvers. He did not raise his voice, did not give orders loudly, yet every ship responded with precision. It was as if his thoughts were reaching through the control systems directly into the minds of the pilots. The predators struck first. Small squads darted in from multiple angles, firing energy pulses and disrupting sensors. Many cadets panicked, some making mistakes. But Ethan remained calm. He anticipated the attacks, adjusting the fleet's formation in real time. He directed decoy ships into paths that led the predators into open space, away from the colonies. Princess Lily felt her heart racing. She had expected humans to struggle against these creatures, but instead they were moving with coordinated precision, guided by Ethan's instincts. The predators, known for never hesitating, were now cautious. One squad hesitated mid-attack, scanning for threats. Ethan noticed and adjusted the positions of his ships, creating a false opening that drew the predators further into the trap. The maneuver worked. Predator ships entered a narrow asteroid field, expecting easy targets. Instead, human ships blocked their escape paths. Energy nets, carefully deployed, disrupted their engines. Smaller drones harassed their sensors, forcing them to slow down. It was not a full attack, but a test, a way to show the predators that humans were not simple prey. Princess Lily could hardly believe her eyes. The apex predators, feared across countless star systems, were being held back by a human apprentice and a small fleet of cadets. She felt a mix of awe and fear. She realized that Ethan's calmness was more than skill, it was instinct. He saw patterns where others saw chaos. He moved strategically where others moved blindly. Ethan's eyes remained fixed on the displays, calculating and predicting. One predator ship broke formation, moving directly toward him. The cadet pilots froze, unsure how to react. Ethan did not hesitate. He plotted a trajectory that would force the predator into the asteroid field without endangering the human ships. The ship moved as he predicted, trapped by the environment rather than attacked. The rest of the predator ships hesitated, scanning the field for threats. Ethan used the moment to direct human fire at the least protected points, disabling engines and forcing the attackers to retreat again. Slowly, methodically, the predators pulled back. This time, the retreat was not just caution, it was respect. Even creatures that had never feared any species in the galaxy recognized something different in humans. Princess Lily stepped closer to Ethan's console. You did that," she said, her voice a mixture of astonishment and fear. Ethan nodded, still calm. "It was not just me. Everyone followed the plan. We forced them to reveal themselves, that is all." Lily shook her head. "No, it's more than that. They didn't just hesitate, they retreated. They feared your plan. You made apex predators step back." Ethan did not respond. He returned to the displays, analyzing patterns, noting weaknesses, and preparing for the next encounter. To him, it was all a puzzle, a problem to solve. There was no pride, no celebration, only focus. The rest of the day passed in a tense rhythm. The predators tested the human defenses in small waves, probing weak points and retreating when their attacks failed. Ethan anticipated each move, adjusting the fleet, coordinating defenses, and guiding inexperienced cadets with quiet authority. By evening, the predators had withdrawn entirely from the sector, leaving the colonies unharmed. Human ships were damaged, some systems offline, but the victory was undeniable. Even the instructors, hardened by years of service, were stunned. Commander Halston approached Ethan as he stepped down from the console. "Clark," he said, "you've done what most thought impossible. The predators, they actually respect your tactics. You've done more than defend colonies. You've changed how the galaxy sees humans." Ethan simply nodded. "It was necessary. If we let them test us without consequence, they would return stronger. This way, we gain time and knowledge." Princess Lily approached as well, her expression serious. "I thought you were just an apprentice," she said quietly. "I was wrong. You are something else entirely. I don't know what, but I can't underestimate you anymore." Ethan looked at her calmly. "I don't seek your approval. I just want to protect humanity. That is all." Lily studied him, realizing for the first time the truth in his words. He did not act for fame or recognition. He acted for survival, for duty, and for the lives of others. That quiet determination, that focus under pressure, was what made him extraordinary. As the sun set over the horizon, the Academy prepared for the next day. Repairs were underway on the human fleet, and cadets whispered about the apprentice who had forced apex predators to retreat. Stories would spread across the galaxy, and rumors would grow. Yet Ethan remained focused, reviewing every movement, every attack, every detail. Princess Lily stood at the observation balcony once more, watching him work. She could see now that the quiet young man she had dismissed had a depth she could not yet understand. He was more than talent. He was instinct, strategy, and courage combined in a single mind. And far across the stars, the apex predators had retreated, but their caution lingered. They had learned something about humans, something dangerous. They had learned that one human could think faster, move smarter, and act more decisively than any predator in the galaxy. For Princess Lily, the realization was both thrilling and terrifying. Ethan Clark was no ordinary apprentice. He was something the galaxy had never seen before, and the battles were only beginning. The galaxy had grown quieter for a moment, but the calm was only temporary. Far from the frontier colonies, the apex predators regrouped, their ships moving silently through empty sectors. Their commanders studied the reports from the earlier encounters, analyzing human behavior with frustration. No species had ever resisted them with such precision. No species had forced them to pull back twice without suffering heavy losses. "They are clever," one predator officer hissed, "but they are only one species. We must test them further." Back at the academy, Princess Lily watched the training fields from her balcony. The cadets were exhausted from the recent battle drills and patrol missions. Many had seen combat for the first time, and even those who had survived were visibly shaken. Ethan Clark moved among them calmly, reviewing performance reports, correcting minor errors, and quietly coaching those who struggled. He did not rush. He did not show pride. He simply focused on preparation. Karen, Lily's assistant, approached. "Princess, we have reports from the frontier colonies. The predators are gathering strength. They are planning something bigger." Lily nodded, her mind heavy with concern. She thought of Ethan, and a mixture of admiration and worry filled her. "He will be ready," she said softly, though part of her wondered if anyone could be ready for the predators' next move. Ethan was already at the tactical room when the new alert arrived. The predators had launched multiple squads, coordinated and aggressive, moving toward the colonies with clear intent to destroy. Ethan immediately scanned the data, noting their approach patterns, speed, and weapon systems. "They are faster this time," he said calmly. "They have adjusted their tactics. We can expect coordinated strikes on multiple fronts." Lieutenant Harris frowned. "Multiple fronts, that could overwhelm the colonies." Ethan's eyes did not waver. "Not if we divide our forces correctly. We will set up defensive lines and decoys. Their aggression will be their weakness." The human fleet launched again, this time with more ships, but also with more urgency. Ethan guided them carefully, coordinating multiple squadrons through complex formations. Princess Lily watched from the observation deck, her heart racing. She had seen humans stand against the predators before, but this was different. This was full-scale engagement. The first wave of predator ships appeared on the sensors. They moved quickly, their energy pulses firing in rapid succession. Some human ships were hit, shields flaring as alarms sounded. Cadets froze, unsure how to react, but Ethan's voice cut through the tension. "Focus. Follow the formation. Keep calm." His instructions were simple, yet every pilot responded. The fleet moved as a single organism, anticipating attacks, countering fire, and maneuvering with precision. The predators struck hard, but each strike was calculated and met with coordinated response. Ethan guided the fleet through narrow asteroid fields, around moons, and along energy currents, using the environment to their advantage. Princess Lily could hardly breathe as she watched. The predators, known for destroying entire fleets with ease, were now cautious. They hesitated, scanning for traps, adjusting attacks, yet unable to break the human formations. One predator ship broke off from its squad and targeted Ethan's position directly. Its weapons glowed with lethal energy. Ethan's hands moved swiftly over the console, calculating trajectories and predicting enemy movements. He signaled nearby human ships to maneuver subtly, creating a narrow corridor that forced the predator ship into a controlled path. The Predator's engines flared as it collided with an asteroid in its rush, damaged but not destroyed. It emitted a piercing sound, a warning to its companions. Ethan's prediction had worked. The Predator's aggression had been used against it. Lily felt her heart pounding. She had always thought humans were clever, but this was instinct combined with intelligence in a way she had never seen. Ethan was no longer just guiding ships. He was reading the battlefield, anticipating every move, and responding faster than any alien mind could predict. The battle continued for hours. Predator after predator attempted to break the human defenses. Each time, Ethan adapted, repositioning ships, setting traps and predicting attacks before they happened. He was calm, precise, and relentless. Slowly, the predators began to retreat again, their attacks less coordinated, their movements cautious. "This is impossible," Lieutenant Harris muttered. "They should have overwhelmed us by now. But Clark, he's controlling the entire battlefield." Ethan did not answer. His focus was complete, his mind entirely on the battle. Every movement, every energy pulse, every ship's position was part of a pattern he saw clearly while others saw only chaos. Princess Lily approached him as the final predator ships began their withdrawal. "Ethan," she said, her voice full of awe, you've done it again. They actually pulled back." He looked at her without pride. "It's not about victory, it's about survival. We learn from them and we prepare. If we overestimate them, we die. If we underestimate them, we die. This way we survive and understand." Lily studied him, realizing more and more how extraordinary he was. He did not seek glory. He did not seek power. He sought only understanding, preparation, and protection. It was a kind of calm courage that few humans or aliens ever possessed. As the human fleet returned to the academy for repairs, Ethan stayed in the tactical room. He reviewed every move, every prediction, every outcome. The predators had been forced to retreat, but he knew they would return stronger and more cunning. Every detail mattered. Every lesson was vital. The cadets who had fought alongside him were exhausted but inspired. They whispered among themselves about the quiet apprentice who had controlled the battle with instinct and intelligence. Stories of his calm precision spread quickly, and even senior officers began to recognize that Ethan Clark was no ordinary human. That evening, Princess Lily found him alone, reviewing star charts and predator data. She hesitated for a moment, unsure if she should interrupt. Then she stepped forward. "You don't stop, do you?" she asked softly. Ethan glanced up, his expression calm. "I cannot. They will return. If I stop preparing, the next attack could be fatal." Lily nodded, her respect growing. "You're not like anyone I've ever met. You think faster, act smarter, and you stay calm when everyone else panics. It's almost frightening." He shrugged. "I just do what needs to be done. Panic doesn't help. Preparation does." Lily studied him, realizing that this quiet young man, who she had thought was just an apprentice, had become humanity's shield without even trying. His instinct, his intelligence, and his calm had forced apex predators, creatures that had terrified the galaxy for centuries, to step back. Night fell over the academy, and the stars stretched across the sky. The human fleet rested in the hangars, and cadets slowly drifted to their quarters. Ethan remained at the tactical station, his mind still working. Every movement of the predators, every weakness, every pattern was recorded in his mind. Princess Lily stood quietly behind him for a long time. She realized something she could not ignore. Humanity was no longer an ordinary species in the galaxy. With someone like Ethan, quiet, calm, and brilliant, humanity had a chance to survive anything. Even predators thought unstoppable. Far across the stars, the apex predators had retreated, but their caution lingered. They would return stronger and more organized. But now they had learned something vital. Humans were not to be underestimated. And one human, one apprentice, had shown them that the species they considered prey could think, adapt, and survive in ways even they could not predict. Princess Lily finally turned away, her mind filled with both pride and fear. The battles were far from over, and the galaxy was beginning to see a new side of humanity, one that would not bow, one that would not run, and one that could make apex predators pause in their aggression. And for Ethan Clarke, the quiet young man who had become the center of it all, the work was only beginning. He would prepare, he would analyze, he would anticipate. Because the next time the predators came, humanity could not rely on luck. They would have to rely on him. And that, Princess Lily realized, was both terrifying and inspiring. The frontier colonies were quiet in the early hours, but the calm was only temporary. Far beyond the outer planets, the apex predator fleets had gathered once more. This time, they were larger, faster, and more dangerous than before. The reports from scouts warned that the predators had learned from their previous encounters. They would strike with full force, aiming to destroy human colonies and crush any resistance. Back at the academy, Princess Lily moved quickly through the halls. The cadets were preparing for deployment, repairing ships, loading weapons, and checking systems. The air was tense, a mixture of fear and determination. Every face reflected the knowledge that this would not be a routine test. This was real, and the predators were coming with the intent to annihilate. Ethan Clarke was already in the tactical room, surrounded by screens and holograms of the approaching predator fleets. He did not speak, did not fidget. His hands moved over the controls with calm precision, plotting trajectories, predicting enemy movements, and calculating defensive formations. Lieutenant Harris approached, worry in his eyes. "Clarke, this is the largest force we've ever seen. Even your last plan may not be enough." Ethan's brown eyes remained steady. "We do not fight them blindly. We control the battlefield. If we remain calm, focus on their patterns, and use every advantage, we can survive." Princess Lily joined them, her heart racing. "Ethan, this is huge. There are hundreds of predator ships. Hundreds. Are you sure we can hold them?" Ethan looked at her calmly. "We can, if everyone follows the plan. Fear will only make mistakes. Strategy will save lives." The human fleet launched in coordinated formation, larger and stronger than before. Ethan guided them carefully, placing defensive ships near the colonies and positioning smaller units to act as decoys. He analyzed every predator movement, predicting attacks and countering them before they happened. The first wave of predator ships struck almost immediately. Energy pulses tore through space, hitting shields and causing alarms to blare. Many human ships were damaged and several pilots panicked, but Ethan's voice cut through the chaos. "Focus, follow the formation, trust the plan." Cadets responded instantly. Ships moved in precise patterns, evading fire and counterattacking with careful timing. The predators, surprised by the coordination, hesitated. They had expected chaos, not control. Ethan noticed a predator squad attempting to flank the colonies from an unexpected angle. He quickly recalculated. Divert the eastern squadron into the asteroid belt. Force them to slow down. The smaller ships can handle them there. Princess Lily watched as Ethan directed every movement with calm authority. It was more than skill. It was instinct. He could see patterns where others saw only confusion, and his predictions were almost perfect. The predators adapted, striking faster and harder, but Ethan's planning kept them at bay. Every wave was met with strategy, every attack anticipated, every retreat controlled. Slowly, the predator fleet began to lose cohesion. Their movements became hesitant, their attacks less coordinated. Then a massive Predator flagship entered the battlefield. It was larger than any ship the humans had ever seen, with weapons capable of destroying multiple human ships at once. Its engines pulsed with energy, faster than anything in the human fleet, and it moved directly toward the colonies. Ethan did not flinch. He analyzed its path instantly, calculating the timing and angle of every weapon it carried. He adjusted human formations to counter the flagship's approach, directing decoy ships to distract its weapons while smaller units targeted its engines. Princess Lily gasped as the flagship fired. Energy beams streaked through space, hitting human ships. Some were destroyed, but most evaded the worst of the fire. Ethan guided the fleet like a master conductor, each movement deliberate, each decision precise. The flagship turned, attempting to flank the human positions. Ethan anticipated the maneuver. All units pivot to intercept. Use energy nets and decoys to force them into the narrow corridor. Engage only when safe. The human ships responded perfectly. The flagship, unable to escape the calculated trap, was forced into a narrow asteroid corridor. Energy nets immobilized part of its engines, while focused fire disabled its weapon systems. For the first time, a Predator flagship, legendary for its power, was rendered helpless in a human trap. Princess Lily could hardly believe what she was seeing. The Predators, feared across the galaxy for centuries, were being controlled, forced to retreat by the calm, precise, and brilliant mind of one human apprentice. The battle raged for hours. Predator ships attempted every tactic they knew, but Ethan anticipated each one. He repositioned human ships, deployed decoys, and guided cadets through deadly maneuvers. The Predators became increasingly cautious, hesitant to strike, and slow to react. Finally, the last wave of Predator ships began to retreat. The colonies were battered, some human ships were damaged, but humanity had survived. For the first time, apex predators, creatures that had never known defeat, had been forced to pull back completely. Ethan remained at the tactical console, reviewing every move. He did not celebrate, he did not smile. To him, this was only preparation. There would be more battles, more threats, and more challenges. Every detail mattered. Every weakness had to be noted and corrected. Princess Lily approached him quietly. "Ethan, you did it. You actually did it. You forced them to retreat, all of them." He looked at her calmly. "It was not about forcing them back. It was about surviving, learning, and preparing. That is what matters." She shook her head, filled with awe. "No, it's more than that. They feared humans because of you. You are unlike anyone I've ever met. You see everything, predict everything, and act without fear. You made apex predators step back. You showed the galaxy something it has never seen." Ethan's expression remained steady. "We all did it. The cadets, the pilots, the fleet. They all followed the plan. I only guided them." But Princess Lily knew the truth. It was not guidance alone. It was instinct, focus, intelligence, and courage combined in a single mind. It was humanity's potential, realized through one extraordinary individual. The Academy celebrated cautiously. The colonies sent messages of thanks, praising the fleet and the apprentices who had held the predators at bay. Stories of the quiet apprentice who had forced apex predators to retreat spread across the galaxy. Rumors grew. Humans, long underestimated, were suddenly seen in a new light. Yet Ethan remained calm. He returned to the tactical room, reviewing every detail of the battle. Every movement of the Predator ships, every energy pulse, every weakness was recorded and studied. He did not seek recognition. He did not seek fame. He only sought understanding and preparation. Princess Lily watched him from the observation deck. She realized something important. Humanity had changed. With someone like Ethan, quiet, calm, and brilliant, humans were no longer prey. They could think faster, act smarter, and survive where others would fall. Far across the galaxy, the apex predators regrouped once more, wary and cautious. They had learned something new about humans. One human, one apprentice, could change the course of battle, could anticipate and counter their moves, and could force even the most feared creatures to step back. Princess Lily understood that this was only the beginning. Humanity had a protector, a mind capable of turning the tide against any threat. And that protector was not seeking glory or power. He sought only preparation, knowledge, and survival. As night fell over the Academy planet, the stars stretched across the sky. The human fleet rested, repairs were underway, and the cadets were recovering from the long battle. But Ethan remained at his station, analyzing, calculating, and preparing for the future. He knew the predators would return, stronger and more cunning. Humanity had survived today, but survival required constant vigilance. Princess Lily stood quietly behind him, filled with both pride and fear. She had underestimated him once, but never again. He was extraordinary. He was humanity's shield, its strategist, and its predator when needed. And the galaxy had seen the beginning of a new era, one where humans were not to be underestimated, where one young apprentice could hold back apex predators, and where the potential of a single mind could change the course of war. Ethan did not look up from his displays. To him, it was all preparation. There was no fear, no arrogance, no desire for recognition, only focus, only survival, only strategy. The galaxy had witnessed humanity's strength. The apex predators had stepped back and humans had survived, but the story was far from over. More challenges would come, more threats would rise, and more battles would be fought. Yet one thing was certain. With Ethan Clarke leading the way, humanity would no longer be a species to fear, a species to underestimate, or a species to destroy. Humanity would fight, adapt, and survive, because for the first time it had someone who could see beyond fear, beyond chaos, and beyond expectation. And that, Princess Lily realized as she watched him, was a future no predator in the galaxy could ignore.